Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's our honor to have Mr. Subhi Hayek speaking to us tonight from Hama to talk about 5 tips to master English. Mr. Subhi is very well known for his contributions to the field of ELT and especially online. He has made so many pages that could help so many English language learners go to the next level. Subhi, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Safwan, for this great introduction. And I'm really happy to be here and I feel so honored. And really, I hope that I can live up to that expectations you have of me. Thank you very much. And now, good evening to all and welcome to my presentations. But before I start, my name is Subhi Hayek and I'm an English teacher. I have been teaching English for 5 years, and in my presentations, I will be talking about 5 important tips for learning and mastering the English language. As I have seen in the past 2 weeks of the presentations that we had on this conference, most and the majority of these presentations were directed towards teachers and how they can deal with their classes, with their students in the classroom. On the other hand, my presentation will deal with the students, or will be directed to students and how they can develop their English and how they can learn the English language. But now allow me to share my screen first. Okay, right. So as I said, my presentation will be on tips on learning and mastering the English language. Of course, today I chose about 5 important tips. I will be starting with the first one, which is motivation. Motivation, that is a really important word, but do we really know what it means? Motivation is something really important when you want to learn the English language. Actually, it's really important to keep yourself motivated when learning anything, not just English. But for English, it is really important to stay motivated and never give up on your language dream goals. Now, why is motivation so important to us? Well, let me tell you something really important, because learning English or learning a language in general may take a long time. So for example, it doesn't take a month or 2 months or 3 months. It may take years to learn the English language, so that it's really important to stay motivated and never lose hope or motivation. Now, as I said, this may seem really easy to say, but more difficult to do. So how can we really stay motivated in this process of learning English? Well, one of the first important things you have to do, or you need to do to stay motivated, is to always remind yourself of why you started learning the English language in the first place. Why are we studying English? What do we want to be in the future? Why are we like sitting right here? For example, now we are all here listening to presentations or doing presentations. What's our reason? What's our motivation? Do you think that we could be here listening or speaking behind the screen, sitting for hours for nothing without motivation? Of course not. We cannot have this feeling if we don't have enough motivation. So my first tip is to keep motivated all the time. Now, okay, suppose I am motivated and I have motivation. What will happen? What does that have to do with me learning the language? When you are motivated enough, a lot of great things will start happening. The first thing that will happen to you is that your mind will start imagining all the opportunities, all the chances and experiences that will be available to you once you have mastered the English language. And also you will be able, or your mind will be able to imagine the things that will be open to you. And also you can feel that one day in the future, you will be able to communicate with English language speakers from all around the world, and maybe establish relationships with them, whether they are whether they are relationships for business or as normal friendship. So all these ideas can be available to you once you have mastered the English language and once you have the needed motivation. And also, you will be able to build new and exciting relationships once you have found the motivation inside of you to keep on learning that language. If we want to talk about some personal experience related to this topic, myself, about 8 years ago, I was a freshman in college and I was a first year. And to tell you the truth, I was really a beginner. So since that day, I've had this motivation inside of me that one day I will learn the English language, and one day I will be talking, or I will be speaking to English speakers, and I will have interesting conversations and interesting meetings with them. And here I am, listening and watching and even lecturing some learners about how to develop their English. So the bottom line of all that tip is to keep motivated, and when you are motivated, everything can happen. So of course, we need not to understand that I'm making things easy for you. I'm not saying that, okay, in one day or in 2 days or in 1 year, you will be that person. Of course, it will take a lot of time. So you need to understand that learning English or learning any other languages, any other language is not that easy, and there will be some problems, and there will be some hurdles, some obstacles. But I believe that if we think about this from another direction or from another point, we can understand that language learning or language acquiring is never cool or is never interesting if it doesn't have a challenge. So you need to think of this idea as a challenge to you. And once you have won the challenge, you will feel so interested and you will feel so rewarded after you have mastered your English. So you will have a great feeling of accomplishment. So the bottom line before I finish my first tip is to stay positive all the time and preserve, and you will succeed. Well, now moving on to my second tip for today, which is to practice every day. And in practicing, I mean two different things. The first thing is to use English and make it a part of your everyday situation. So this is the first part. And the second part, of course, is to repeat whatever you're studying immediately or quickly. So let's talk about the first part. The first part of practicing every day means that you should use the English language every day, and you should use it as a lifestyle. So don't think of it as a school subject. Don't think of it as something you have to do because you need some marks or because you are looking to get something new. No, think of it as a lifestyle and practice it as much as you can. So this is the first part, and the second part is repetition. Why am I stressing on the idea of practicing English? Because as you see, practicing English every day is really crucial, is really important if you want to gain fluency in English quickly. And by fluency, I mean getting to really, really great levels in the English language. Well, I hope that I'm not being misunderstood when I say repeat and repeat and repeat and study and study, that I mean that you should over study. No, I don't mean that. I mean by studying or by repetition is that, for example, you learned something. So what should you do after you learn it? You need to repeat it, and you need to focus on it really a short time after you have taken it. Why am I saying that? Because if you wait too much before learning or before repeating what you studied, this will be a waste of time, and you will waste a lot of valuable time, and maybe you will forget what you learned and you have to relearn it again. So my tip here is to repeat instantly and do not wait too long to repeat what you said or what you learned. Because as I said, you will forget everything you learned previously and have to relearn it. But as I said, do not overstudy. So why should I never, or why should I not overstudy? Because if you overstudy, this will make you bored very quickly. And I said earlier that learning a language can take a long time. So it's really important to keep things cool and to keep things interesting and not overstudy. Because if you overstudy, this will make you bored and you may give up on your language goals, and you may give up on the process of learning the language from the beginning and once for all. So my tip is to keep things cool, and everything is or everything will be okay. So how do I keep things cool, or how do I keep things interesting? How do I teach myself how to keep things interesting when learning a language? Well, for starters, you could just vary the skills you are learning. For example, you know that the English language has got a lot of skills. We have the reading skills, the writing skills, the listening skills, the grammar skills. So on one day, try to focus on the reading skill, and then on another day, try to focus on the writing skill, and then on the other day, try to focus on the grammar skills. By doing that way, you are giving yourself some time to practice different things, and also you are making things, or you are making the language process more enjoyable and less boring. Well, as I said, why am I stressing in the beginning about the idea of practicing? Because as the one of the proverbs say, or says, practice makes perfect. The more you practice something, the better you will be at it. And the more you use your English, and the better you will be at it. So my tip for today is to take every opportunity available to practice speaking English. Why? Because it is the most important thing you can do to gain fluency. Now, this is my second tip, of course. My third tip is to always and all the time think in English. I think this point is not very good for, let's say, beginners, because it's really hard for beginners to think in English. So my tip is to think all the time in English. Why am I stressing the idea of thinking in English? Because for starters, let's face it, this is a real fact that what makes a good English learner from a better English learner is the ability to think in that language. So for example, if I am having a conversation with people who speak the language, and I am thinking of what I want to say in English, but I am thinking in Arabic, I'm structuring the Arabic word and then translating it in my mind, and then producing the sentence in English. What will that be? Of course, this will be time consuming, and this will waste a lot of your time, and your production might not be as perfect as you think, because one time, some languages or all languages can be different in some points. So some languages might be similar in some kinds of structures, in some kinds of rules, in some kinds of grammar, but also these same languages can be different in some other ways. Let's take the example of the Arabic language and the English language when we talk about the idea of using adjectives. As you all know, in Arabic, the adjective follows the noun. But in English, the adjective precedes the noun. So if we want to think in Arabic and then move it to English, this might result in a grammatical mistake, and this will make you very embarrassed, or you will make a mistake in general. So my tip is to all the time think in English. So as we said here, I'm forgetting to hit on the bottom. So Arabic translation is no good. It takes a lot of time to translate your native language into English and then back again. Every language is different, and each has its own anomalies, which can make accurate translation impossible. So what happens when we think in English? So as we said, we talked about the negative point of using Arabic or using or thinking of the Arabic language when we speak English. And we talked about how bad it is and what bad things can happen if we think in Arabic. Now, let us go to the bright side. What happens if we start thinking in English? What will happen? Of course, your spoken and also your written English will be more fluent. And by fluent, I mean more accurate and, let's face it, faster, if you can learn how to think in English. So why am I saying this? Let us give you an example. Let us think of our language or the language itself as a smartphone, the smartphone that we all have. If we have like too many apps on our phone, and here in this example, I might use the Arabic language as an app and also the English language as an app. So switching back and forth between these different apps is time consuming. Of course, you will have a lot of time to go from the Arabic app and then go back and switch it back to the English app. So this will make it a lot harder for your brain to develop or to process all these information, because your brain needs to have the English application open all the time. So if you open another app, this will be time consuming, and this may result in your brain having a lot of difficulties to process all the information that you're having. So as we said, your native language, in that in that case, the Arabic language, your native language application should be distracting you as little as possible. And as I said, this tip is mainly concerning what the people, not the beginners, because it's really hard for beginners to develop such a skill of thinking in English. I'm talking about people who are not real beginners, maybe people who are intermediate or pre-intermediate students. This will be a great tip to develop their English. Well, now moving on to the fourth tip for today, which is to make friends with English speakers. Also, this is a very important way, a very important tip to take your English to the next level. Because, okay, now I practiced, I have enough motivation, and also I avoid thinking in Arabic and I started thinking in English. What will happen? How do I test myself? How do I test myself that I have improved, that I've become a good language learner, a good language speaker? Of course, you will never know that if you will never know if you are truly fluent in a language until you are able to hold a fluent conversation with native speakers. Not only native speakers, actually, with people who can speak the language fluently. So why do we have to find these friends with whom we can speak English, with whom we can practice what we learned? Because it's really important to see how good we are in the language. This is number one. And number two, let's face it, it's a kind of way which forces us to use the English language in many different situations. Actually, as us English learners or English speakers in general, we don't use the English language unless we are in an English class or unless we are studying for an English exam. So and sometimes, and I'm speaking this as a fact, in our universities, in our English university department, we don't use English. So finding English speakers with whom you can speak English is a really good way to force yourself to practice English outside the idea of school subject or something like that. So also you can have an interesting time. You can never be under pressure of that's like you are studying. No. It's just like you are hanging out with these friends. You are having a good time. You are maybe going to a restaurant, sitting in a cafe, and watching something, for example. Yes. So why do we have the English speakers again? It's a great way to force yourself to use English. You will need it to interact with your peers. And also, if you had good friends, and this is a very important idea, you will not feel like you are in the middle of a class and you are studying as well. No, it will feel like you are having fun with them and you are like enjoying your time. Let me just give you a short idea about me as a personal story. For me, when I was in college back in the first year, when I was a freshman, I used to have this friend who could speak the language very well. I used to be friends with him, and I used to hang out with him all the time. And we used to use English as a part of our life in every little situation, believe me. So if we are like walking down the street, if we are sitting in a cafe, if we are on a bus, if we are making fun of people, we always use English. So there was one time where I was waiting for him in the university, or at the university, and he got really late. So I got really mad at him, and I was supposed, or I thought in my mind, that when he comes, I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind. So when he showed up after an hour later of our supposed meeting, I got really angry and looked at him in the face. But then before I said anything, I noticed that he was a bit depressed or a bit sad. So I thought maybe something bad happened to him. So I waited a little bit, and then I told him, where were you, man? I told him that. He looked me in the eye and told me, my uncle has just passed away. His uncle died. Look at how serious the subject is, and he never thought to talk about this situation in Arabic. He just used the English language because he learned that in order to learn a language, you must make the English language as a part of your life. So my fourth tip would be summarized in a few points. Find English speakers with whom you can speak English very well, and then everything will be okay. Now, up to my final point of today's tips, which is to lose the fear of making mistakes. Well, I made this as the last point because it's really the most important, and let's face it, the most dangerous point. It is one of the most significant obstacles that any language learner faces when learning a new language. Really, when I have a lot of students and who have the fear of making mistakes, and I tell them, okay, how's your English? They tell me, oh, our English is good. And then I tell them, okay, how about we go up to the stage and maybe share some information about a different or a specific topic? They go and say, no, we can't do that. Why can't you? What's the problem? Why aren't you willing to practice what you learned? Why aren't you willing to share the information? They go and say, simply because we are afraid of making mistakes. Well, let us face it, this excuse, I call it an excuse, or this reason is not logical. Actually, it only gets in the way of you learning the language. So don't think of it as an excuse not to speak, because mistakes are part of the learning process. There's a proverb, or there's a good saying I remember I read a few years ago, which says, if you are not making any mistakes, you are not learning. So part of being a language learner means the existence of some mistakes that you make every now and then. So as I said, when you are learning the English, it's really normal that you make mistakes, and it's really normal for you to feel okay about these mistakes and not really embarrassed, because most people who are listening to you will understand that you are just a learner. You are not expected to sound really perfect in English from the start. So they will not expect you to sound like the President of the United States or the Queen of England. Even native speakers sometimes make mistakes. So the idea here is not to fear mistakes, and try to express yourself in English as much as possible, and do not care about making mistakes. So as I said, you need to relax. You need not to be really stressed about it, because everyone makes mistakes when they are learning anything, and especially a new language. Well, as I want to go and shadow some of my experiences as an English learner, I remember back when I was in the first year, I had to give my first presentations, and by God, I was so stressed. I was so stressed to the point that I was looking at my friends, and I was looking at my teacher, and they were all staring at me as if like I thought they were going to look at me and then point at every mistake I will make. So if I thought that way, that meant that I will not have completed my my presentation at all. Instead, I gave my presentation, which was, I remember, about punctuation marks. It was about 55 minutes long. Yes, for a first year, and I was like not that good in English. I gave a lecture, I gave a presentation of about 55 minutes with no fear, with no problems. And yeah, I remember that I made a lot of mistakes and a lot of people laughed at me, but that was no problem to me at all, because these mistakes taught me how to be better, how not to make these mistakes again. So as we said, mistakes are bound to happen. You are a learner, which means you are going to make mistakes, because these mistakes are a necessary part of the language learning journey that you have chosen to take. But let us face it, sometimes you will encounter some awkward and embarrassing moments when you say something wrong or rude. But as I said, even if these things happen to you in the process of learning the English language, do not feel so embarrassed and do not feel so stressed, and try to look at these events or these situations with humor and don't be hard on yourself. Well, the final thing I want to say in my presentation today is to be better, not the best, especially at the beginning, especially if you are on that journey of learning the English language. So a lot of people, when they are learning the language, I go and ask them, why haven't I seen you speaking English? They tell me, we are waiting to be perfect. And then I tell them, you are doing a really big mistake, because in the process of learning English, being perfect is not the main issue, because what we are required to do is to progress, not to be perfect, because progress or progression is more important than perfection. And of course, in that progress or in that journey that we have chosen to take, making mistakes will be a necessary part of us learning a language, because each mistake will help us reach fluency as we learn from it. And this happened to me, as I told you. Well, that's all I have to say for today's presentation. I hope that these tips will help you, and really they did help me a lot in the process, and they are still helping me, by the way, because I'm still a learner and I'm just sharing my experience, my knowledge, the information I have with other people, with other students. Maybe these tips will help you, inshallah. So that's all I have to say. And I don't know if Mr. Sofwan is still there.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have any questions. I don't know.
Thank you very much, Sobhi.
Yeah, thank you very much,
That
Mr.
was
Sofwan,
wonderful.
and thank you for inviting me to this wonderful presentation, or this wonderful conference. I thought that a lot of presenters, a lot of great presenters were addressing their presentations towards teachers. I thought, why not make a presentation addressed to students and how they can take their English to the next level.
Great, great. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question, you can just unmute yourself and go, or any comment. So meanwhile, here is a question.
Yes, I have a
Yes,
question.
okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Taha.
Hello.
I've been learning English a lot of times, so but I'm still I'm not good until now. So I have a problem with the things who I learn. I don't know I understand me.
Well, if you could just give us some more explanations about your question.
Hello.
Taha. Can you hear me, Taha?
Okay. The way I learn. Okay, I hear you. The way I learn English is self-studying, and I have a problem with solution, with resolution.
With you mean
so,
the production?
How can I find
a
good resolution?
Okay, just let me get one thing straight.
Resources. I'm sorry. I forgot the word. Resources.
You mean like you are lacking the resources, or you have problems finding good resources to become better?
I have, yes, a problem with the resources, because there is a lot of things in the internet, and I don't know what's better from anyone. Should I choose to level my English?
Okay. Well, this is a really vague question, but I'm trying to understand it as much as I can. Well, I can tell you for one thing, if you are having problems choosing the best resource, here you can go and ask some of the experts, of course, after they identify your English level, and then they can tell you about the best course you can follow to make your English better. I can't recommend any courses at the moment, because I don't know your level in English, because this will be hard for us to give you a course if we don't know your basic level. So in a nutshell, we can say we can ask or for some advice from our language instructors. Of course, where you live, we have you may have some great language teachers. Then you can ask them that my level, or they can make an assessment for your level, and then they can give you the best course to follow.
Thank you very much.
I hope this helps.
Thank you.
Here is another question.
Yeah.
Someone is asking, can I start learning English by myself?
Can you please repeat that, Mr. Safwan? I couldn't hear that.
Yeah, the question is, can I learn English as a starter by myself?
Well, as a starter, it's really hard because you will lack some guidance, especially if you are a complete beginner of English. So I don't feel it's a good way to start learning a new language by yourself. Maybe you can start off by doing some courses with some teachers, and then when you feel that you are comfortable enough to go on or to complete the learning process by yourself, this may sound even better. But as a starter or as a complete beginner, I don't think it will be very helpful.
Thank you. And here is another one, Subhi. I just delivered the question to you. So
yes.
Don't you think that repetition by itself is a dead end?
Repetition might sound as a dead end.
I think what she means is, what if students repeat without understanding the word or how they use it?
Yes, that's a very important question. As I said, in repetition, I don't mean to repeat blindly or to repeat without understanding. I said something really important that you might want to go and check it. I said, after you learned something. So when I say after you learned something, it means that you know what you have learned and you understood what you have learned. That way, or after that point, you can repeat what you said, what you learned. But if you, of course, took something and never cared about it, of course, this will not help you at all. So I hope this was understood.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Somebody is asking, why don't you put more idioms on Facebook?
Well, I'm trying my best to run the page as much as I can, but in this current time, I'm really doing my master's degree, and it's really taking a lot of my time. That's why I'm maybe going low on my Facebook page right now, but why not? I will try to consider that in coming posts.
And here is someone asking about your contact, if you have a personal Facebook page.
Yes, I do actually, but I don't have it right now. So maybe if I can I like send it to you, Mr. Safwan, and you can share it? Well, but it's really easy. I'm going to write it. All of my accounts have this name, Subhi Hayek. You can easily search about this title and you will find me.
Great. Thank you very much. So guys, do you have any more questions for Subhi? Because we still have 3 in here.
Yes.
I have another question. What do you think about learning English on movies and series?
Well, as I believe this is a very important question. Part of learning English through movies or through songs or through films, I think this is a great way. I think it's a great way in two types or in 2 points of view. The first point is that I'm gaining a lot of vocabulary, especially when I'm watching series. I always tell my students to keep watching series because in series, they keep repeating the same words again and again and again. And the situation is really clearer so that you can understand the meaning of the vocabulary without going back to translating it. So I believe that it's a great way to learn the English language. The second way of why learning English through movies or through series is good is that it can teach us about the idea of repetition or something called shadowing. So for example, if I have or if I listen to a character in a series or in a movie saying, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. And then I liked the way he said it or she said it. Then I will try to repeat what this character said and also shadow what they said in the words, in the intonation, in the rhythm. I don't want to talk about it. And I don't want to talk about it. So the more you repeat it, the better you will become at it.
Here is a question, Subhi.
Yes.
The person goes like, how can I speak English like you?
How can you speak English like me? Well, let me tell you something important about myself. As I said, and these tips are taken or are based on a really life experience. So if you want to speak English like me, you need to enroll in some courses. You need to start working on yourself and also follow these 5 tips. These 5 tips are really important if you are considering becoming a good language learner and a good language speaker. And let me tell you, if you follow these tips and if you have the needed motivation, if you practiced, if you started thinking in English, if you find English speakers to speak with, and if you lose the fear of making mistakes, you will not just be like me, you will be even better than me, inshallah.
And someone is asking, maybe this is a bit personal, where are you teaching in Hama?
Why? Like the question is why?
Where?
Or what? Where? Yeah, I'm currently teaching at Lingualand Language Lab. It's in Hama, in Abil Fida Street. I'm only and currently teaching there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And here is another question by Samir asking, do you push me to stick to British or American accent?
Oh, yes, this is a very important question here. I'm not pushing you to learn American or British English, I am pushing you to do one thing, to learn English, whether it's American, whether it's British, because this distinction is really not logical. Because after all, you are speaking English with or without an accent. What is important now is to learn how to speak English with the correct pronunciation. Don't care about the American accent and don't care about the British accent, because caring about these, it's like caring about the painting of the house before even building it. So please try to focus your attention on and then try, if you have the time or if you have the needed time, to focus on the accent in a later stage.
Right. All right, guys, does anybody else have a question? Because I still have the last one. All right, then Subhi, I end up with the question. Asking, how useful is reading loud?
I'm sorry, again?
Yeah, how useful is loud reading?
Oh, you mean like reading aloud so that you can hear yourself better? Yes, I feel this is a great, also a great technique to hear yourself, especially when there's nobody listening. Especially if there's nobody listening to you and can maybe evaluate you. Also, I can feel there's a better way than reading aloud, because sometimes you might not have enough or the needed space to do that, because let's face it, sometimes you will be considered as a crazy man if you read aloud, especially if you have people around. The best way or the better way is to record yourself using a headphones or speakers, and then you can listen to yourself and evaluate yourself.
And last one, actually, someone was asking, what can I do to my problem, which is I am very shy?
Oh, yeah, this is the problem. Well, there is something I have been working on lately, which is a very important tip, which is, I will write it in the chat, which is called therapy, or called to face your fears. Or like, for example, if I have this fear of speaking in English, or if I am shy to speak in English, or if I am shy to use what I have learned in front of people, this is a problem that can be cured through exposure therapy. Exposure therapy. What's called, or what do we mean by exposure therapy? Suppose you are afraid of cats. How can I not be afraid of cats? How can I? The best way is to approach a cat and then touch the cat, and then maybe have the cat on your hands or on your arm. So if you are shy to speak English, I think the best way is to challenge this fear and speak the language, even if it might not be perfect, and even if you will have to make a lot of mistakes. I hope that helps.
You hear me?
Yeah, now I hear you. I hope that helps the question.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, I hope the person has got the answer, right? But yeah, it makes perfect sense. So I would love to end this up by saying thank you so much for being with us. And thank you for all the time and the efforts that you put for the success of this presentation. And I personally believe in you, and I push you to more and more of hard work on the field that you're working in, because your contributions have been truly wonderful. So keep it up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Safwan. Really, since the last time I met you in Hama, my motivation has increased a lot since then, and I'm currently working and trying to improve myself even better to live up to your perfect expectations of me.
Couldn't be more honored, and I miss you, and I miss Hama already.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all of us, for all of you who are watching us, and I hope that this presentation was useful Thank you very much and see you in other meetings.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a good night.